Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're out at the range with the CZ 600 Trail. This is a bolt action rifle that has a couple of different configurations, one with a standard wrist stock, and then this one, the Trail version with the collapsible stock lightweight receiver and chambered in 223, but it is also available in 7.62 by 39. We'll talk about some of the really interesting features, like the fact that it takes standard AR-15 magazines or Bren 2 magazines in the 7.62 by 39 flavor. But there's some really interesting things that you're going to want to watch this video that we're going to talk about, because almost immediately upon its release earlier this year, there was a recall. And in that recall, they took away, in my opinion, half of the features that would draw somebody to this rifle. And we're going to talk about that in today's video. But we also want to address some rumors that are going around as of mid-September 2022 regarding CZ USA and them dropping products from their product line. Are they going out of business? Is Colt destroying CZ USA? And talk a little bit about that, but we're not going to focus too much on that. But those rumors will come up in the comment section of this video, I know for sure, so we do want to address them. So with that being said, let's get started doing some shooting with this interesting rifle and talk about some of the good parts, and we're going to also touch upon the bad parts. A lot of folks ask me, how can I get involved in the firearms business in that particular community? And one of the best ways to do that is to become a gunsmith. Every gunsmith I know is just overbooked with work. It's a very good living. And so if you would like to become a gunsmith, you need to go to a gunsmithing school or become an apprentice for an existing gunsmith. But Modern Gun School is an accredited college that also works with veterans in the GI Bill, where you can go and get a degree from accredited college in gunsmithing and then go out and start your own gunsmithing business, which I think is a really great option. Again, throughout my entire life, gunsmiths have always been able to earn a really good living, assuming they have a really strong work ethic. So please check out Modern Gun School. I do have a link in the video description below. So let's go over some of the features of the 600 Trail. Now, there are 4 different versions of this gun currently offered by CZ. So let's start off on the rear of the gun here. Now, this is a polymer stock, and it's married to 2 metal rails that ride down both sides of the receiver. Then you have a little button here in the rear. You push that button and yank, and it'll go to full extension, and it'll lock into place. Now, there should be 2 more additional stopping points in between. There's one there. You have to be very, very gentle because it's easy for the stock to go right past that locking point. Should be one more right there. That's another locking point. And then fully collapsed, push it forward, it'll latch and it'll stay in the locked position. Over here on the left-hand side, you will notice that it has a, let me get that button and depress it, has a little cheek piece, and we'll talk more about this when we get to the shooting part. Has a single screw holding it in place, and as far as we can tell, even though it has a screw hole over here, you can't take this piece and just put it over here because it would literally come off towards the rear of the stock. And they didn't include another one in the box, so it's really set up for a right-handed shooter, even though it has ambi features like a magazine release and other stuff, which we'll get to here in a moment. It has a very aggressive texturing. This is soft, pliable rubber back here, and then on the bottom side, you'll find a sling swivel for a QD mount. Moving forward, we have a pistol grip here, and this does take standard AR-15 type pistol grips, but this is the factory pistol grip on it. Just above the trigger here, we have a selector lever, AR style, or I should say Bren 2 style, and it is accessible from either side of the receiver. The trigger. The trigger doesn't require you to take the gun apart to adjust it, but it has a 4-position trigger that you can adjust the pull weight you can go from 1.3 pounds up to 3 pounds on the trigger pull weight. Something that's also not talked about in the manual, or on their website, I should say, is that there's another screw hole in there where you can actually adjust the take-up on the trigger and essentially turn it into a 1-stage or a 2-stage trigger by that second screw hole. So the trigger is adjustable. Moving forward, we have the bolt handle here, and it is a 60-degree throw on the bolt handle, and must take the safety off. With the safety on, it does lock it into place. And as soon as I say that, it doesn't lock, but it should lock into place. So take the safety off, and then you'll be able to run the bolt. And if you put that safety on, that keeps the gun from getting knocked out of battery while you're moving around with it. Moving forward, and this whole subsection down here, this whole lower receiver is polymer. You have a magazine release, and this is just a standard PMag, so if you're so inclined, you can put a standard capacity magazine in there just like that. And so anything that will work in an AR-15 should work in this bolt-action rifle. It does have an ambi magazine release. So you have the mag release over here on the left-hand side. And of course, you just saw me operate the mag release over here. And it's in a very intuitive spot, kind of in an AR-15 type location. To disassemble the gun, you take it off safe, and there you will pull the bolt back. There's a little tab right here. You're going to push down on it, and that will release the bolt, come out for disassembly. Talking about the receiver itself, this is all one piece of aluminum, including the Picatinny rail. So this is not, screwed to the top of the receiver. It is actually milled into the receiver. And the receiver ends right here. Then we go out to a standard M-LOK rail system. Now, what's interesting about the M-LOK rail system, and they'll even point this out in the owner's manual, is that your standard M-LOK accessories may not work with this really, really minimalistic rail. The screws will be too long, so you have to grind them down to get your M-LOK to work with this rail. Had CZ just simply made the rail just a little bit thicker, like 1/8 of an inch on either side, it probably wouldn't require you to grind on screws to get it to work on the gun. That's one of the dings on the rifle. Also, this handguard has screws that clamp it to the receiver, but as far as we can tell, there are no rotation stops on it. So if you have, a vertical grip or something out here and you hit it really hard, in theory, you can cause that rail to rotate. We have a 16.2-inch medium profile barrel that is cold hammer forged with a 1-in-7 twist. Out on the end, we have a 1/2 by 28 thread, and this is an Otter Creek silencer that is on the end of it. So with this particular rifle, we have American Rifleman something or other rings up here with a Vortex. I always butcher the name of the rings, but this is the Vortex Diamondback. This is a 4-to-16 power, and we've shot some pretty small groups with this particular optic on the rifle. Now, keep in mind, the receiver is very short on this, so if you want to move this forward and you don't have enough, you're not able to do it with standard rings, you don't want to push the rings out onto this handguard because it will not hold zero. You'll want to use a crane mount for like an AR-15. So, with that being said, the gun tips the scales at about 6.1 pounds with nothing on it, no optic, no silencer. So it's fairly lightweight. And then when this is collapsed, it's a fairly small package with that 16.2-inch barrel. So the question then becomes, how does this rifle shoot? I should also mention, even though you have a QD mount back here, there's nothing up here for a QD mount. You would actually have to put something on one of the M-LOK slots and grind the screw down to get it to fit. So now, with that being said, how does this thing shoot? And what's up with that recall that was issued not long after the gun started to hit the market? Now, this gun was first announced in late 21. It is now late 22. And this gun's already gone through a recall. And because of that recall, they took away some pretty serious functionality that would draw most people to this rifle because it made it a little bit unique. Not totally unique, but a little bit unique. All right, so let's talk about the accuracy, because I know you're sitting there right now going, Mac, how accurate is that rifle? Good question. All right, so this is our test target. This has nothing to do with today's accuracy testing other than just to confirm zero. Starting off here, we have 69 grain federal gold medal match. It is a 5-shot group. It measures 1.7 inches. Less than impressive. Moving over here, 69 grain Norma match, 1.1 inches. Okay, we're getting to about where most AR-15s shoot in terms of accuracy if they're a quality made AR-15. Over here, we have some 77 grain federal gold medal match, 1.4 inches, less than impressive. That stuff usually shoots good out of a toilet paper tube. All right, down here, we have some 77 grain federal gold medal match. And again, these are all 5-shot groups, 1.4 inches. So pretty consistent accuracy there. Over here, this is some 55 grain Norma ball. This is just your regular stuff that we shoot out here on the channel all the time. And it gave us a 2-inch group. So that's not too bad at all for just regular old ball ammunition. Over here, guys, just don't let your friends buy Nosler ammunition. We've never had good luck with it. This is a 5-shot group with some 70 grain Nosler ammo, and it's almost 4 inches in size, 3.8 inches. That's ridiculous. 55 grain ball from Norma actually did far better, okay? Literally half the group size. And then this is taking the gun apart, removing the chassis from the stock system and then remounting it, seeing if that shifted to 0. And it doesn't really look like it shifted too much. Most of these groups tend to kind of favor right a little bit. So here's a 5-shot group with some 69 grain federal gold medal match measuring 2 inches. This we're going to ignore because this is for a T&E gun that we can't quite talk about yet. Down here, this is my Daniel Defense Mark 12. That's kind of my gold standard for 5.56/223 rifles. It shoots the best, or it's one of the best shooting rifles I have in that cartridge. And so over here we have 77 grain federal gold medal match, and it measures exactly 1 inch center to center. Over here we have some 69 grain Norma, 1.1 inches. And then over here, 69 grain federal gold medal match, 0.8 inches. And again, these are all 5-shot groups at 100 yards. So out of morbid curiosity, we wanted to see how the action was bedded to the polymer lower. Now, typically, when you take a look at precision rifles, the stock and the action are bedded in some way. They're very firmly attached to each other with something like aluminum V-blocks, or, there's traditional glass bedding and things like that that people used to do. What we've noticed with this rifle is that it's just a very minimalistic polymer lower that has a honeycomb basically in its molding, and the action just sets flat on top of that honeycomb molding, and then screws pull it down into the polymer. And so we're not sure if that would affect the accuracy much, given I'm not, again, a trigger designer, I'm a trigger puller, but the lack of any type of angular bedding or really solid bedding of the action into the polymer chassis, it just seems kind of, I don't know, janky. You be the judge. Again, I would expect something a little bit different than what we saw inside, but I don't know how much of a role that's actually going to play in the overall accuracy of the gun, but it was worth pointing out. What about that recall? Well, this is pretty significant, but I think CZ handled it as best as they could. So when the rifle was originally announced, it had quick change barrel functionality, quick change cartridge functionality. So you're probably asking yourself, why 223, and especially why 7.62x39? Here in the United States, 7.62x39, I don't care who manufactures it, isn't exactly known for its accuracy potential. And 223 is just a moderately accurate cartridge. It's not a super accurate cartridge. And I know some of you hand loaders out there with $10,000 rigs are going to argue that point with me, but I'm here to tell you, we pull the trigger on a lot of 223 rifles, and 223 is just a marginally accurate cartridge. And so that's no different with this one. But the recall, man, with 223 and 7.62x39 being my only 2 cartridge options, that's not very enticing. If I could change that barrel out quickly, which the original design had, that would sure make things much more, I don't know, make me more inclined to buy it, because there would be some hope that perhaps I could get a 6 arc or 6.5 Grindle or something a little bit either more powerful like 6.8 SPC or something like that, or a cartridge like 6 arc that has a little bit better accuracy potential. But they had to take that quick change functionality away. Now, based upon my research, what would happen is people could assemble the gun incorrectly. You would not put the barrel back in properly, and it could blow the barrel off the end of the gun, and it was completely unsafe. So they issued the recall, and their solution was to permanently, well, not permanently, but for the end user, screw the barrel in and semi-permanently affix it. So now the quick change barrel functionality and cartridge functionality is gone. And with that, the bolt is still set up so you can swap out the bolt head to change it to a different cartridge. But since the barrel's now permanently fixed, it's really kind of lost functionality. And so only having that 223 and 7.62x39 really turns this rifle off for me. I don't need another 223, and I certainly don't need a bolt action in 223. So anyway, that's kind of the big boo-boo. Now, how did CZ handle it? Well, I think quite admirably. So CZ said, look, we're going to, put the barrel in there, we're going to screw it in, it's not going to be quick change anymore. If you're not happy with that, produce the receipt and we'll refund the money that you paid for the rifle. Now, these things, MSRP on them is right around $1,153. So if you paid $1,400 for it, you produce that receipt and CZ would reimburse you that $1,400. And of course you return the rifle to them. So they handled that properly. But in my opinion, the fact that it's now locked into those 2 cartridges, neither of them being ideal for my purposes, I lose all interest in this rifle. So let's talk about those rumors circulating the internet about the fate of CZ. Now, you remember that CZ and Colt, let's just call it a merger. I thought CZ acquired Colt, but we don't really know what went on. At least I don't, because of what's happening right now with regards to CZ USA operations. So all this firestorm got started by, I'm going to put my readers on here, by a post from an ex-CZ USA employee, and we don't know if they're actually a former employee, but this is in essence what they posted. They said that now that they have received their severance check, they're going to go ahead and make a public post talking about the problems with CZ USA. And part of that post says, Colt-CZ Group, in its infinite wisdom, decided to hand control of the U.S. operations to back-to-back bankruptcy champion Colt, who proceeded to remove all production from CZ USA and lay off the assembly staff. Now, this person claims to have been part of that assembly staff. And then, things of note, last I heard, importation of the Brens has ceased. And then they posted, and I'll put this up on the screen, they posted a long list of CZ products that are to be discontinued in 2023, and it looks like an official list. Now, if you jump over to the CZ USA website, they do have a substantial list of discontinued products on the website as of this recording, which is, again, mid-September 2022. So we even have people coming into Copper talking about this, asking what the status is. Are the Brens really gone? Is Colt taking over? They made a news release, let's see, I think back in 2019, where it says, and this is from an article of April 23rd, 2019, for immediate release. In essence, firearm manufacturer CZ USA chooses Little Rock for their headquarters production, and the company is to invest $90 million and create 565 jobs over 6 years. Again, this is from April 23rd, 2019. Now, if you know anything about the history of U.S. operations for CZ, they were originally located in Kansas City, Missouri, or Overland Park, Missouri, and they moved their production to Little Rock, Arkansas. Now there's posts out there on the internet saying that they're actually not going to do that. They're going to turn their back 2 years later on this $90 million facility and move everything to Connecticut and under the purview of Colt, which, as the person that made the post, is known for going in and out of bankruptcy. So people are fearful that if the brass at Colt gets a hold of CZ, they're going to gut the company and run it into the ground like they have so many other times with Colt itself. Now, much of that is speculation. I can't find anything set in stone, but that's the scuttlebutt on the internet that everybody is talking about. So if you want to see what's actually been discontinued by CZ, who continues to make Facebook posts fairly recently and make posts elsewhere on social media, they don't seem to have pulled the plug on the U.S. operations completely, but swing by their website and you can see the list of discontinued items. It is fairly substantial. So what do I think of the 600 Trail overall? Well, I've already mentioned earlier in the video, I personally have no use for 223 in a bolt-action rifle. It's just not a cartridge I care to use in a bolt-action rifle. I have gas guns that feed from a magazine, load themselves, that shoot better than this particular rifle. So the testing will continue. Again, this is Jason's personal rifle. We do have the Otter Creek suppressor on here. Some of you are probably going to say, well, the gun doesn't shoot good because of the suppressor. That's nonsense. Typically, suppressors don't affect accuracy at all. And if they do affect accuracy, it improves accuracy. If you don't believe that, go back and watch our SCAR 20 video in 308. Ignore the 6.5 Creedmoor video for now. They're still having problems with that particular gun. But we put a suppressor on that gun, and it settled down to be a sub-MOA gun. Before that, it was an 1.5 inch gun at best. So suppressors don't typically negatively affect accuracy, especially high-quality suppressors like Otter Creek. But the testing will continue, and if there's some breakthrough and the gun suddenly starts to shoot half-minute groups, we'll do an update video. I don't anticipate that happening based upon my experiences over the last 30 years with the cartridge. So $1,153 for a bolt-action 223, I personally have no use for it. You may. If you're interested in that sort of thing and 223s, you know, your jam, go for it. Pick it up. It's not horridly expensive when you compare it to other rifles on the market, but again, you're just going to get average performance in my opinion. So me, it's a hard pass. You be you. You just decide based upon the evidence that we've presented in this video and our testing, whether or not this is something that's of interest to you. Guys, if you'd like to support us here at the Military Arms channel so we can continue to bring you content like this, please consider becoming part of our Patreon family. There is a link in the video description below. Also, right here on YouTube, you got that little join button underneath the video player you're watching right now. Mash that join button, and you can support us right here on YouTube in the age of demonetization. And last but not least, please swing by, check out Copper Custom. Thank you for 14 years of support, and we'll talk to you guys soon.